Jai Hind you all, welcome you all in the lecture series of the discrete structure and the theory of logic. The subject code is KCS 303. I am Rajiv Singh and today I am going to discuss about the unit 3 in the discrete structure, that is related to the lattice and the Boolean algebra. So before entering into the lattice, we'll do some prerequisite of the lattice, that is partial ordered set and the things related to the partial order set. So what is partial ordered set? Partial order set is nothing but a relation on the set which will satisfy the following property. The first property is the reflexive property, second is antisymmetric, and third is the transitive property. As in my previous lecture I have discussed about all these properties of reflexivity, antisymmetricity and the transitivity. So what is reflexivity? Reflexivity is nothing but when some x belongs to S and x is related to x itself, then it is called as a reflexive relationship. And similarly antisymmetricity is nothing but the whenever x is related to y and y is related to x and x equal to y, then it will become the antisymmetricity. So it means whenever antisymmetricity will come into the picture, the symmetricity cannot hold. It means if x is related to y, then there should not be y related to x. If x is related to y and y is related to x, then x should be equal to y, otherwise it will not, it is not going to be the antisymmetric relationship, because it is a bit confusing term. That's why we need to keep in mind that for antisymmetricity, the symmetricity should not come into the picture. For example, if 2 related to 3, then 3 to 2 should not be there in the answer. Next, the third property for being a partial order set is the transitive property. The transitive property is nothing but whenever x is related to y, y is related to z, then x should be related to the z. So it is the simplest mathematical property in which we can say there is an indirect relationship between the x and z. So it is one of the simplest properties. So for in relation to being a partial order set, these three properties should be followed. So this is the prerequisite for the lattice. Next part is the Hasse diagram. It is also one of the prerequisite for the lattice. So all these are the things which are related to the lattice, and before entering into the lattice we should know about the partial order set, lattice, minimum, minimal element, maximal element, greatest element, least element, upper bound, lower bound, least upper bound, greatest lower bound. So all these things are related. So next is the Hasse diagram. Sometimes we are saying, some persons are pronouncing it as Hasse diagram, but I am saying it as Hasse diagram. Hasse diagram is nothing but a graphical representation of a relation of elements of partial order set with the implied upward orientation. It means there is some relation between the elements in such a way that some upward orientation is existing. So we will discuss it in example. A point, so how to do the Hasse diagram? A point is drawn for each element of the partial order set and joined with a line segment according to the rule. If P is less than Q in the poset, then point P corresponding to the lower in the drawing than the point corresponding to the Q. So here we can say that if P and Q are partially related, and we can say that P is less than Q, then if we will draw the Hasse diagram of P and Q, then P should come somewhere down to the Q. So the 2 points P and Q will be joined by the line segment if and only if P is related to the Q. Next is the procedure how to create the Hasse diagram. So for creating the Hasse diagram, first of all we should know how to draw the digraph of any relationship. Whenever we are given any relationship, then we should draw the digraph first. So in that digraph we should the things performed are as follows. The first is remove all self loop, because whenever we are drawing the digraph, the self loop will be there, because the first property that I have already told is the reflexive property. So in reflexive property, as soon as the reflexive property will come into the picture, we can say that the self loop will also come. So whenever the digraph whenever we are working on the Hasse diagram, first of all we should remove all the self loop then remove all edges which are represent due to the transitivity. Yani whenever we are saying somewhere A is related to B and B is related to C, then A is related to C, here if I am saying that A is related to B, B is related to C, and if there is an transitivity from A to C, then we have to remove this edge. It means for being a whatever the edge is representing the transitivity between the relationship, we need to remove that edge first. So arrange all the edges such that the initial vertex is below the terminal vertex, and remove all the arrows on the directed edge since all the edge point upwards. The meaning of the fourth line is that we should convert all the vertex into the terminal vertex. Means whenever generally we are drawing the digraph, the vertex are in this way in the form of the circle. So we have to convert this circle into the dots. So these are nothing but the terminal vertices. Similarly, here we can see that the arrows are there, so we need to convert all these arrows into the edges. So this was the procedure for converting the digraph, normal digraph, into the Hasse diagram. So this is one of the example of the Hasse diagram. In this Hasse diagram we can say that 1, 2, 3, 4 were the elements on some set A, and there is a relationship between the elements like less than equal to. So whenever we are establishing the digraph for less than equal to relationship, we can see that 1 is related to 1, 2 is related to 2, 3 is related to 3, and 4 is related to 4, and 1 to 2 will be there because 1 is less than equal to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, similarly 1 to 3 and 3 to 4, and so on. So first of all, what we'll do, first of all, as per the procedure, we'll remove the self loop from the program. See, these are the self loop. First of all, we should remove this self loop. Then what we will do, then we will remove the transitivity. So how to remove the transitivity? We can see here in the digraph that this edge, this particular edge can be removed because 1 to 2 we have, then 2 to 3, then 1 to 3 will be removed. Similarly 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 we have, then this can also be removed. And indirectly here we can see that this 1 to 4, because it is also showing some transitivity, so we have to remove this also. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 1 to 4 is there, then we need to remove this particular edge also. So after removing all these edges, we are remaining with this particular diagram. And as per the last statement of the previous step, remove all arrows, directed edges, since all the edges point to the upward. It means that this arrow symbol we need to remove, and finally this is the we are remaining with the diagram. This is nothing but the Hasse diagram for a particular relation. So for this is the one of the example. Draw the Hasse diagram for 3, 4, 12, 24, 48 and 72. Here meaning of this is nothing but the this is the operation on which we are working, that is divisibility relationship. Means 3 is dividing, if I will set the relationship between 3 and 4, then I can say that there is no relationship between 3 and 4 because 3 is not related to 4. Okay, because 3 does not divide 4. And 3, 12, yes, between 3 and 12 we have the relationship because 3 is dividing 12. 4, 12, 4 is 4 and 12 also having the relationship, 4 is dividing 12. So in this way, this is the relation 312, 324, 348 and so on. All these are the relation according to the three property. Those three property were the reflexivity, antisymmetricity and the transitivity. So these are the relationship. So now the Hasse diagram will be like this. So here we can see that this was actually the direct Hasse diagram, direct Hasse diagram drawn from the given relationship. Means in this diagram already we have removed the self loop and the transitivity relationship, because 3 is dividing 24, so this as will already be been removed. So in this way this was the final diagram. So here we can say that there is no edge between 3 and 4. Why so, class? Because 3 is not dividing 4. Similarly there is no edge between 3 and 24 also, because we know that 3 divides 12 and 12 divides 24. So it is the but obvious that 3 will divide 24 also. That's why it is the relationship, it is the diagram of the Hasse diagram. Next term related for the lattice is the maximal and minimal element. So what are the maximal element? Let A is some set, and this is the relation or operation. We can say that A is related in less than equal to kind of thing. Be a partial order set. An element small a is called maximal element if there is no element B belongs to A such that B is greater than A. It means we can say if there is no such element existing which is greater than the particular element that greater than A, then we can say that A is a maximal element. Or it means for declaring something as maximal element, we should ask the question from ourselves that who is maximum than this particular element. If we have A and B and they are related in this way, and if I want to ask among A and B who is greater, then we cannot say anything. Even the sign of B is here, then also we cannot say the relationship between A and B, because the orientation is something like that B is somewhere looking like upper than A, but in actual practice we cannot say that B is upper than A or not, because they are not related directly. Okay, then here in this case we cannot say that which one is the maximal element, but if I will but if I will draw it in this way and I will connect it this in this way, then here we can say that D is the maximal element. And one more thing, that if we are not able to say that which one is the maximum one, then which one is maximum than A, then also we can say that A will be the maximal element. So here in example I want to show something. Here in this example we have this is the Hasse diagram. So in this Hasse diagram the terminal symbols are given like A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. So here we can see that if I will ask question from myself that who is greater than A2, so giving answer is very simple, very tough, because I don't know about the A4 and A6. So here I am saying that this A2 is a maximal element. Similarly for A4 also I don't know that which one is the greater than A4, because no one is greater than A4, I cannot say anything about it. So that's why I can say that A4 is also the maximal here. A6 also maximal, because for A6 means for other elements again I cannot say that who is greater than A6. So that's why I am saying that this A2, A4 and A6 are maximal element. But if I will talk about this particular element, so there are elements which are greater than this A4, or which are at higher position than this A4. So here we can say that this cannot be the maximal, because this A4 is existing actually. So this cannot be maximal. Similarly this cannot be the maximal also. So here A2, A4 and A6 are the maximal element. Similarly the definition of the minimal also. An element A is called minimal if there is no other element B belongs to A such that B is less than A. Yeah, if means I can say that there is no element less than A. If I am not able to say in this about this, then we can say that A is the minimal element. So again I will see the diagram. So in this diagram we can see here that if I will talk about the A1, then I cannot say about anyone that who is smaller than A or at lower position than A1. So if I will talk about the A3, then I cannot say that it is smaller than A1, because there is no direct relationship or no other relationship existing between A1 and A3. So here I can say that A1 is the minimal element. Similarly, A3 is also minimal. Why so? Because no other element existing which is smaller than this A1, and in this case A5 is also the minimum. But someone may say that A1 is less than A5, because if I will say directly, then it looks like that it is at somewhere lower than A5, but in actual practice I cannot say anything about the A3 and A5 because there is no direct relationship between A3 and A5. Okay, it is just the orientation. If it means orientation wise, I can write this A5 in this way also. So that's why I cannot say that which one is lower than A5. That's why this A5 is also the minimal element. So finally A1, A3 and A5 are the minimal elements. So the next term related to the topic is the greatest element and the least element. However, these terms are very confusing terms, but we need to take care of the things that there is a difference between the maximal and the greatest element. There is difference between the minimal and the least element. So an element A belongs to capital A is called the greatest element if it is greater than every other element in the poset. Means now I am saying that if I am able to decide yes, this is greater than all, then I can say that it is the greatest element. Okay, so in the previous diagram, if I will say that it is the greatest, so can I say that it is greater than all? No, I cannot say. That's why it is not the greatest element. Okay, for A4, can I say that it is greater than all? No, for A4 also I cannot say that it is greater than all. That's why it is also not the greatest element. So in this diagram we don't have any greatest element. So similarly for the minimum element, or sometimes we are saying it as a least element also, an element is called least element if it is less than every other element in the poset. It means if we are able to decide that it is the smallest element in the Hasse diagram or in the relation, then we can say that it is the minimal element. So again I will go to the previous example. So in previous example, if I will talk about the A1, then I cannot say that it is the least element, because there are two possibilities. It can also be the least, it can also be the least. So I am not able to decide that is the smallest one. If somehow I am able to decide that it is the smallest one, then only I can say that it is the least element. So again we will see some example. So this is the example for the Hasse diagram of the set A, B, C with the subset property. So here if I will draw the Hasse diagram, means this null is contained by A, null is contained by B also. Similarly this AC, this A will be contained by A, that's why this A is come down to AC, and this A is come down to AB also, because this A is contained by AB. B is contained by AB, that's why there is edge existing between this. So if I will say that there is no edge existing between null and this ABC, so it is wrong, because there is an indirect relationship existing between this null and ABC. Why? What is this indirect relationship? Null is related to C, C is related to BC, and BC is related to ABC. That's why, because this transitive relationship has already been removed, that's why these are not related. Okay, so here we can say that if I will talk about the BC and AC, so here we can say that these are not related at all, because this BC is not contained by AC and AC is not contained by BC. That's why there is no edge existing in this. So that's why there is not direct edge between them. So it is nothing but the Hasse diagram, how to draw the Hasse diagram of this. So now I am going to discuss the greatest element in this particular Hasse diagram. So here I can say that this ABC is the greatest because it is the largest among all. So I am damn sure, or I can definite about this element that it is largest than all. That's why this here ABC is coming. What about the null? What about this element? About this element I can say that it is smallest than all. That's why we can say that it is the least element. So here class, it is a bit confusing. These are the bit confusing term, as we have learned earlier: maximal element, minimal element, greatest element and the least element. So we need to take care about the things. So if you are not able to understand, then again you can rewind the lecture and you can learn about the things. Okay, Next, one more terms has come, that is also looking like this, that is upper bound and the lower bound. So here let S be a non-empty set of subset of A in the partially ordered set A comma less than equal to 2 less than equal to, if there is an element U belongs to A such that S is less than equal to U for all S belongs to S, then U is called the upper bound. It means if some element is greater than equal to all the element of particular set, then that particular element is called as the upper bound of that particular set. Similarly, I can say about the lower bound, if there an element such that this element is less than equal to all other element of the set, then that particular element can be called as the minimal lower bound of that particular set. So we'll see it by one example. So here in this example we can see that the set is given to us as D, F and G. This is the set D, F, G. Okay, so I want to find the upper bound of lower bound of this particular set. So here I can say that this H is greater than equal to all this D, F, G, K is greater than equal to D, F, G. Okay, so that's why H and K are the upper bound. H and K are the upper bound. What about E? Some person can say, okay, I can be the upper bound of F and G. So here I have to again think of that whether I is coming at the upper greater than or equal to of F, D and G. So here I can see that I is if I will see the divisibility relationship, then I can say that C divides F. Okay, C divides F, C divides E. Okay, but I cannot say anything about the E and F, whether E divides F or not. So here if there is no relationship between E and F, then how can it be related to the I also? So I is not related to, that's why it is not the upper bound of this F, G and D. Similarly, I will find the lower bound of F, D, G, that is A, B, D itself. So some person is saying, okay, for him it is okay because B is less than equal to F, D, G. Okay, then it will be the answer. A is also less than equal to F, D, G, it will also be the answer. Then why this D is the part of the answer? Because according to the definition, the particular element can be the lower bound of that particular set if it is less than or equal to all the elements. So here if I will compare this D with the, if I will compare this D with the F, D and G, then what is opinion? D is less than equal to F. Okay, D is less than equal to G, it is also okay. What about this? D is less than equal to D. Yes, it is correct. That's why it will be the part of the answer. So the next important term is, that is very important, and again it is going to be the confusing, because there are similar terms are coming, like earlier in initially I have talked about the maximal, minimal, then greatest, least, then upper bound, lower bound. Now we are talking about the least upper bound, then greatest lower bound. So there is difference between the least upper bound and the upper bound. So as per the definition of the upper bound, upper bound is nothing but the element which is greater than all the elements of the subset. Those are the upper bounds. Let's suppose if I will talk about something so let's suppose this will be one Hasse diagram, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if I will talk about the 3 and 4, okay, so what are the upper bounds of 3 and 4? So here I can say that the upper this edge cut will not be here. So if here I can say that the upper bound of 3 and 4 are 5 and 6. Okay, it is good, it looks very nice. Okay, the upper bound of 3 and 4 are the 5 and 6. So among 5 and 6, which is the least one, which is at the lowest position? So here I am saying that 5 is at the lowest position. that's why its name is the least upper bound. Yani the lowest among the upper bound is called as the least upper bound. Similarly, the greatest among the lower bound is called as the greatest lower bound. So here, according to the definition, if there is a least element in a set of upper bound, set S is called a least upper bound, or supremum of S is denoted by LUB or supremum of S. Similarly, the greatest lower bound, if there is a greatest element among the lower bound of S, okay, means there are the number of elements who are the greatest, and I am interested in finding the greatest element in among all, then it is going to be the greatest lower bound, GLB. So here also one example is given, that subset S is given. In subset we have, as we have the element C comma D shown in figure. Now I am interested in finding the least upper bound of S. So in S we can see that there are number of upper bounds of S and D. So the upper bounds of S and D are, upper bound of S and D are, so I can say that I have two upper bounds basically, that is E and F. So among these two upper bounds, which one is at the lower position? Which one is at the lower position? So here I can say that E is at the lower position, that's why it is the least upper bound. So here it is the least upper bound. Similarly, the greatest lower bound, so for C and D the lower bounds are A and B, and among these lower bounds which is at the upper position, so this B is at the upper position, that's why it is the greatest lower bound, means greatest among all the lower bounds as per the definition. Now if I will talk about this diagram, in this diagram I have A, B, C, D, E, F. So if again I am interested in finding the least upper bound and greatest lower bound of C and D. So here I can see that neither if I will talk about the upper bound of C and D, then I have two numbers, that is E and F. Okay, it is good. Sorry, upper bound of C and D. Okay, I am able to decide that these two elements are somewhere greater than C and D. Okay, it is good. But who is the least one? I cannot say anything about this E and F because they are not related here, because there is no relationship between the E and F. That's why no one is at the least position. So it may be possible that F is at the lower than E. It is just the orientation. So here I cannot decide that which one is at the lower position among E and F. That's why I can say that this E is going to be no one is going to be the least element here. That's why this least upper bound is not existing here. Similarly, the greatest lower bound. So here if I will talk about the lower bound of C and D, then the lower bounds are A and B, and among A and B which is at the lowest position, again it will be a question mark at that which is at the lower position. So here I can say that no one is at the lower position. That's why that's why the greatest lower bound is not existing. So one of the important thing that I would like to discuss about this greatest lower bound and least upper bound is that if I will talk about the lower bound, then there may be the number of elements, okay, in the answer. If I will talk about the greatest lower bound, then there will be either a single element will be the answer, or nil element will be the answer, or null set will be the answer. Okay, either the single element will be the answer or null set will be the answer. So in this way the null set or nil is the answer, or here in the previous question the single element is the answer. So it is guaranteed that when we will talk about the least upper bound and the greatest lower bound, then these elements are always going to be the single or unique element. Next, there are some numerical based on these problems. So here in this problem, this is some set is given, and on the basis of divisibility I have to find the maximal element, minimal element. So if I'll talk about the maximal one, which one is the maximal class, which one can be the maximal? So here I can say that 30 will come at the highest position. So but among 30 also, because 20, there is no relationship between 24 and the 30. Okay, so 24 can also be the part of the maximal element. So again you can memorize that among 24 and 30 which one is will be the maximal element. So both can be the maximal, because there is no relationship between 24 and 30 as per I am talking about the divisibility. So I can say that both 24 and 30 are the maximal element. Okay, so for this answer will be the 24 and 30. If I will draw the Hasse diagram for this, the Hasse diagram on the basis of divisibility will be like this. So if I will take 2 here and 3 here, so I can say that 2 is dividing 4, 2 is dividing 4, and what about 5, because 5 is also not divisible by anyone, that's why 5 can also come at the lowest position. And next is the 8. Okay, so in this way I can establish the diagram. Okay, 2 divides 4, 4 divides 8. What about 10? If I will place 10 here, then this 10 can 2 divides 10, 5 divides 10. What about 8? 8 is not able to divide 10, that's why there is no relationship. So if I will draw the 12, what about 12 class? So 8 cannot divide 12, but 4 can divide 12. Similarly here 3 can also divide 12. So it is going to be the Hasse diagram. So always whenever we are drawing the Hasse diagram, we need to take care of the orientation. If 3 divides 12, it means 12 cannot come down to 3, always 3 can come just down to 12. Okay, now next element is the 24. If I will talk about the 24, okay, because 8 can divide 24, that's why this 24 is coming here, and 12 is also dividing 24. So these two are related. Okay, which one else? Okay, nothing. Next is the 30. If I will talk about the 30, this 30 is divisible by 10. Okay, 12 cannot divide 30. Okay, and 2 can divide 10, 10 can divide 30, it is good. 5 can divide 10, 10 can divide 30. So here we can say that it is the Hasse diagram on the basis of the divisibility. So here, as I already told, the two elements are maximal element. So for maximal element, this is the answer. What about the minimal? If I will talk about the minimal, then these 3 elements 2, 3, 5 are the minimal elements. So this is the answer 2, 3, 5. What is the greatest element? So no one is the greatest element. Least element, no one is least element. Upper bound of 8 and 12. So here if I will talk about the upper bound of 8 and 12, that is 24. From diagram itself I can find. And lower bound of 8 and 12. So here I can say that 4. Okay, 4 is and 2. 4 and 2 are the lower bound of 8 and 12. Okay, 4 and 2. What about the least upper bound of 4 and 8? 4 and 8, the least upper bound will be the 8 itself, because there are number of upper bounds, but among them the 8 will be at the lowest position. What about the greatest lower bound of the 4 and 8? The greatest lower bound of 4 and 8 will be the 4 itself. So that's all for today. Rest we will see in the next class. Thank you so much.